Hi, one best for sports picks. I'm Peter Loshak. It's Friday. It's week 7 in college football. This is the Into the Weekend with BetDSI show that we do every week in college and NFL. And of course, we talk with Brent, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook. And he tells us all about the information that he's gotten over the week in terms of sharp action, sharp betting action, public betting action, and everything in between. Brent, thanks for being back with us one more week here at College Football Week 7.
Always a pleasure, Peter.
All right, the first game I want to ask you about is Ohio State, Wisconsin. We actually have two marquee games with double-digit road favorites. This is the first one, Ohio State, Wisconsin. Not much movement on this line. Ohio State finally lost against the spread last week, and you did tell us you got notable action against Ohio State last week. Not necessarily list action, but you got some respectable action fading Ohio State with Indiana. This week, I'm going head-to-head with my video partner this week. He likes Ohio State. I'm on Wisconsin. We both took 10.5. What can you tell us about the betting action for this one, Brent?
I can tell you that if either of you grab the under 48, I'd be calling you real sharp right now.
No, not quite. I missed it.
Yeah, I know. Ohio State, we're sitting at 10.5 right now, and we've got really good two-way action. I mean, our wager count is, it's as even as you could possibly get. My actual dollar volume taken on this game, exact same thing. Almost, it's just as even as you can get. Now, the only line movement we really had has been popping between -10 on Ohio State to the +11 on Wisconsin. That's kind of where what I'm going to call pseudo-sharp action came in, but it came in on both sides, so it's nice. And looking at my count, it looks like the public is kind of divided on this one as well, so I don't really have any definitive sharp action. Either way, I did mention the total initially because, I have sharp action on the under now. They grabbed under 48. We're already down to 44.5. No surprise at all in terms of my wager count favoring the over because the public does what it does and bets the over typically. So we're sitting at 44.5 right now. I got my first real bet back on the over at 44. Not a list guy, but one was respectable nonetheless. But 48 was the first hit on the total. I took real good action on a very respectable guy on 45.5. So we're down. We dropped all the way down to 44. Finally took a hit on the over. But as I said, my wager count is almost 3-1 in favor of the over, which means the public's betting the over. Sharp's definitely on the under on this one. And good, just really good two-way action on the side. Again, it was -10 where the most respectable bet came in at first, and the +11 the way on Wisconsin. So do the math, -10 +11, we're sitting at 10.5.
All right, so we'll see where it closes. But let's say we see, half an hour before kickoff, we see 9.5. Does that mean almost certainly there was a sharp action coming in on Wisconsin?
Yeah, judging by sitting here on Friday night in terms of looking at the action that I've got so far. Like I said, I got two-way action in terms of public action, so it's not going to be that drives the action because they kind of tipped their hand already that they. They're split on this game as well. So, if it is a big move either way where, Ohio State's closing, below 10 or up to 13, that was some big shots firing on either side there.
Right. Okay, and then the second game like this is Alabama at Tennessee, and we have seen some significant movement here. It opened around 10 or 11, depending on which book you were looking at, and now it's up to 13.5. I've even seen some 14s out there. Alabama, of course, rolled Arkansas, and that's a lot of times a game where, the Sharps come in on Arkansas as a big dog, and they got to cover. But on that one, Alabama got the cover. This might be another situation where, I'm guessing that there's not any sharp action until, obviously there isn't, otherwise we would have seen a move down. But I'm assuming that the public is all over Alabama, and the sharp action, if any, was on Alabama as well.
Yeah, I do have about twice as many bets on Alabama, which again, no surprise, the public getting behind the top team for sure. On the road at Tennessee right now, Alabama's a 13.5 point favorite. I took sharp action at -12 on Alabama. I took some sharp action as well at -13, and I got some sharp action back. I mean, we drove the line all the way up to 14. It was actually +14 -115 where they came in on Tennessee. So this is another game where I actually do have the other game was kind of pseudo sharp action.
Yeah.
This is a game where I have actual real sharp action, both list guys, and I've got list guys on the favorite and the dog. And again, The first hit on Bama came at 12. There was another hit though at 13, drove it all the way up to 14, dog 15, and took money back there. So again, it's I'm not tipping any one side on this one based on the action that I have, simply because I've got good action at the +14 and good action at the 12 and 13. Again, my wager count about 2-1 in favor of Alabama, and typically the public's going to back them. Same song and dance in terms of the total. I've got about 4 times as many more bets on the over. We're sitting at 57.5 right now.
All right. Well, when I hear that betting profile, that action profile, Brent, that tells me that Alabama is the side. I might go on that one myself. And then the next game I want to ask you about, Stanford, Notre Dame. Neither one of these teams is ranked right now. Obviously, both having very disappointing seasons relative to preseason expectations. There has been a slight move on this one. It opened about 2.5. Now it's up to 3 market wide. I'm wondering if the sharps are seeing this and seeing value any which way, and if the public's touching it at all.
This looks like one of those games that, when you looked at the start of the season, you're like, wow, this is going to be a great game.
Yeah.
This is going to be, this is going to be so important. And now it's like, oh, it's just another game. I mean, both these teams in Stanford looked so good until Washington just ran over them. Notre Dame they've just been, giving up a ton of points. So I think disappointing is kind of the way both these seasons have gone. I do have a decent two-way action. Nothing really to write home about in terms of if sharps involved in this game at all. My wager count as well is pretty much even. Right now we're sitting here with Notre Dame as a 3-point favorite at home. I've actually got Notre Dame -3, -105. So a little bit of juice on the Stanford way, that's all. But just a slightly more bet Stanford way, slightly more money. That's kind of the reaction there. But nothing in terms of sharp action at all. I do have quite a bit of total action, and of course that total action that I do have is on the over. They started coming in on like 53.5. They started hitting the over. We're up to 56 right now. We actually had gone all the way up to 57 before we finally got a pseudo sharp back the other way. But that play was more of a numbers guy saying the number's gone too much in terms of he might have been a type of guy who laid like 53.5 and comes back on the under 57. But nothing really sharp on this game at all. Again, my count slightly favors Stanford. My money slightly favors Stanford, and of course over money, Peter.
All right, so we've got clear list action on the Wisconsin under and on both sides of Alabama and Tennessee. But again, I'm kind of thinking that I'm respecting the Alabama action on that one more. What else can you tell us about notable sharp action from the rest of college football week 7? Brent from BetDSI.
I'm telling you, Peter, that I'm a little bit nervous about this weekend.
Really?
It seems I've got a ton of games here, and it's just favorite action, and favorite action. So I've got a lot of sharp action on favorites, and I got publics going the same way. So this is
let me ask you this.
Week. I mean, honestly, in the last couple of years we've been doing the show, I don't remember a week like this where I've had so many favorites getting the money from the sharps.
All right. Well, let me ask a question. Is this the same list guy who bet on Air Force over Wyoming and Marshall over over Akron when they were big favorite? Because whoever that guy is, maybe you want to think about taking him off the list, Brent.
Hey, Peter, maybe we should just stop having this conversation. If you want to, drag down the list people now. Hey, guess what? When they make an omelet, they break some eggs. It happens.
I hear you. All right.
I know you didn't hear anything about Michigan -28 and how they rolled over.
Oh, that's right.
We don't mention those ones.
That's right. The Sharps have been doing well overall in college football this year, and that game in particular is like a kind of disaster game where you have sharp action on a big favorite and then public action as well. So you're saying that there's a lot of games like that this week with that profile?
Yeah, I'm just going to fire through them because there's so many games. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to go into to midnight with this show. Yeah. But there's just a ton of sharp action on favorites. So I'm going to start off with Toledo at home to Bowling Green. Toledo -25.5 got sharp action. Got more sharp action on Toledo -28. They're now up to 31.5, Peter. So that's just a real big move. Obviously, I've got more money, more count, more everything on Toledo. So Bowling Green fans, come on down. Dropped down to South Florida. They're at home to Connecticut. Same deal. I took sharp bets on South Florida -17.5 and -19. We're up to 20 on South Florida right now. And again, my wager count is about 2-1 in favor of South Florida. My dollar volume is almost like 5-1 on South Florida. So that's a missing spot for us as well. Clemson, we're sitting. Where are we now? 16.5 is where the sharp action came in on Clemson. We're up to 18 right now. NC State, I mean, it's kind of like a formidable foe, you would think, but my public is all over Clemson. No surprise at all. Sharp action again, like I said, 16.5 on Clemson. My wager count is 5-1 favoring the home favorite, and we're up to 18 right now. Not a whole lot of anything back on NC State. Down to Oklahoma at home to Kansas State. I don't need to tell you where they bet on this one. Oklahoma, of course. Oklahoma -9.5. -11, and -12. So I got three different bets at three different numbers, all on Oklahoma. We're up to 13 right now, just kind of fishing for some money back. I mean, Kansas State, the kind of program that you kind of expect that you're going to get some money back. The public won't shy away from taking them, I don't think. And it's kind of a spot now we've hit 13. It's like, okay, hopefully we don't have to go any higher than this. But I feel comfortable that we should probably get some money back on that one at least. I mean, if anyone we're going to get some money back on, that's kind of the profile that we'll get some action back. I mean, Bowling Green, maybe not so much. Connecticut, maybe not so much. But Kansas State, at least we're hopeful we'll get something back there. I want to mention the total on that game as well. Kansas State at Oklahoma. I took sharp action on the under 60, so that's a bit better situation for us in terms of getting under action from sharps because I have a wager count of almost 6-1 favoring the over. Of course, that's mostly public money on the over. We're using 58 right now, but under 60 is where that came. Down to, what did I cover? Texas. Did we get to Texas yet? Texas -13.5. I got a sharp action on them as well. They're at home to Iowa State. Getting out of order here. We're up to 15 right now. My wager count slightly favors Texas, but my money's almost like 8-1 in their favor. So Texas 13.5 was the sharp action there. Moving right along, I actually got a dog play. That was New Mexico at Air Force. New Mexico +15. Got sharp action on them. Finally, someone playing a dog, which is nice. Where we are, Central Michigan at Northern Illinois, have a total play there. We're down to 64.5 right now. Sharp action came in on the under 66. Another favorite for you is Arizona State at Colorado. Colorado is the home favorite. They're -12 right now. I got sharp action on Colorado at -10. And Ohio State, Wisconsin, we talked about the total under 48, and that's a whole lot of sharp action for you and a whole lot of favorites, Peter.
Wow, that's interesting. But on game day, I mean, you mentioned obviously the minor games, you don't anticipate getting sharp action on the other side back, but don't you usually tend to get more big bets on the underdog's day of game, or is that not the case?
Yeah, no, and again, that's not to say that I don't anticipate sharp action to come on teams like Bowling Green and UConn. Certainly, it may come. I mean, the sharps, they don't care if you and I are playing a game of tennis, Peter. If they got the advantage, they'll bet it for sure if the line's right for them. So it's not that they only are going to be jumping in on these games with the marquee teams and stuff like that. But if they find value, they're going to jump on it. It's just the public. When the public's all over one side, I don't expect the public to come jumping in on Bowling Green. Right. I don't expect them to come jumping in on Connecticut. That's for sure.
Brent from BetDSI, DSI Sportsbook, thanks so much as always. We'll talk to you again next week for College Football Week 8.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.